Good morning. This is Jason Watts, the Director of the Office of Environmental Management. We're here to talk about the 2019 NEPA Self-Assessment that's going to kick off on May 1st and run through August 21st, 2019. On the line today here from Tallahassee, you have me, Jason Watts, you have Pete McGilvery, the State Environmental Quality and Performance Administrator, and Eric Whitehead, the Quality Assurance and Quality Control Coordinator. Eric's going to do most of the talking to let you know about what's coming up for the audit this year, the self-assessment. First of all, the self-assessment, we talk about the authority. The self-assessment is required to be done in accordance with the Memorandum of Understanding that we signed with Federal Highway to take on NEPA assignment. This is our third that we went through this year. It fulfills most of the QA/QC that we do here in central office. Eric's going to go through all of this. He's going to talk about what topics that we chose for this year. Understand it's different than Federal Highway's audit where they look at projects in general. We actually pick specific topics that we think would be of interest or value to the department to understand whether or not we're completing our obligations both under our own PD&E manual and any other federal obligations. The self-assessment process works well because the districts have done a fabulous job of getting with us and helping us go through the review. We do it out of central office, but we do it with a lot of input from you all out in the districts. And I do appreciate all of your work when it comes to the self-assessment. It is a real valuable tool. I want you to all hear that when it's done, we spend a lot of time going through it and seeing what we can do to both give accolades when they're needed and people are doing a good job, but also look to see where we can improve when there's something that we can do better in the future. It also allows us really easily to see when some districts have best practices that we can share with the state and make it part of all of our common language. This time I'm going to hand it off to Eric and let him go through the presentation with you.
Let me interject one other for you guys. Thank you so much, Jason. A couple other things for those of you guys that are attending that we would appreciate. You're in a webinar, which means you're in listen-only mode, so a couple of things would be very useful to us. If you got questions, please type them into the chat for us so we can make sure that those questions are handled. And obviously, if you have more than a few people attending from your location, say you're in a conference room or something like that, also if you could use the chat and tell us who's in the room, we want to make sure everyone who is in attendance has the ability to get credit for it. We are also recording this particular session. Once it's recorded and finalized, we'll put it up on our website, and we'll also send out that link as well. I know a lot of times it's difficult. There's so many meetings and competing interests that are going on, so we try to make an effort to record things and make the materials available. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Eric, and we'll get going.
Okay, good morning, everybody. As Jason and Pete said, we are beginning the 2019 self-assessment process. Fortunately, it's not anything that you all are not aware of. We've gone through it several times, but we always like to refresh in terms of sharing things about why we do this and how we do this. And then there's also the a briefing of looking at the 2018 self-assessment and the results from that, and the extent that we have draft findings from Federal Highway for their 2018 audit, we'll share that with you as well. So for this authority, the authority has not changed. There are two requirements that we are meeting with doing the self-assessment. One is the Department of Transportation topic 001-260-001, which is the quality assurance and quality control policy that the department has. So this self-assessment serves as a dual purpose. We actually have to provide that information to the department. The second one, and the last three things on this slide, are the MOU requirements that we operate under NEPA assignment, and there are several sections that refer to the requirements for the self-assessment. One is section 8.2.5, and you can see there that FDOT shall perform annual self-assessments of its QA/QC process and performance to determine if its process is working as intended. The second one is Section 8.2.6. Upon the effective date of the MOU, FDOT will maintain a list of NEPA approvals and decisions, which we do, and we actually report that up to Federal Highway on a quarterly basis, and that is where we get the projects from for the self-assessment. And then Section 10.1.3, FDOT shall collect and maintain necessary and appropriate data relating to the performance measures. And that process is an ongoing process. We've integrated that into our SWEP tool, and the data is just constantly updating. So what we do is we run a report, and it kind of shows the status of each one of those measures that we've developed for that purpose. So the purpose of the self-assessment, and then just a quick snapshot of the team itself. As I indicated, we have to do it annually, and we have to look at the performance and the compliance aspects of it. And the compliance is when we look at actual projects. And this year, we've selected target topics, and we're definitely going to share those with you. And we're going to pull projects from the list of project approvals. We do have a 12-member self-assessment team, and you can see from the slide here that team consists of myself, Mariano Barrios, Brittany Bianco, Katie Britt, Tu Clark, Heidi Coggins, Lindsay Guthrie, Roy Jackson, Matt Marino, Ruth Raza, Michael Sykes, and Mike McDonald. And essentially those are people you work with on a daily basis. They are the PDCs as well as the engineering specialists. So none of the names will be foreign to you on that list. This next slide shows the project approvals report that we use to pull these projects from. And just basically the way we have developed that report within SWEP, it includes Type 1 CEs, Type 2 CEs, environmental assessments, FONSIs, draft environmental impact statements, final environmental impact statements, FEIS with RODs, Section 4F determinations, and reevaluations. So when you think about the universe of projects that we're looking at, it could be any of these. And of course, to put a qualification on there that we have to have qualifying projects within the review period. So I can tell you for sure this year we didn't have any qualifying EISs that were new. Now we do have EISs that show up in the reevaluation. So, and you can see from the project approvals report basically how it looks, and that includes from left to right, the district designation, the FM number, project name, class of action, the type of document it is, whether it is a Section 4F, and that's a yes or no, the CE number, of course, CE type 1, you get them from those listings, so it indicates which number it is. If there is an ETDM number, and that's referring to higher classes of action, and then the date. So that's kind of what the report includes, and that's what we send to Federal Highway on a quarterly basis. The focus topics that we have for 2019, as Pete indicated, we do focus on specific areas, and as opposed to just looking at everything, which gives us kind of the opportunity to dig into the areas a little bit more closely and actually produce good information that benefits us as well as the districts. For this year, the focus topics, the first one is noise, MOU standard statement, and relocation. And the reason why those are clustered together is because those are topics that come from the 2018 self-assessment, and we indicated that we would go back and look to see how those have been implemented in terms of the districts working in those areas. So they're kind of clustered together, and they come from the 2018 self-assessment. And we have lead reviewers, and you can see from the list, but that first one is Pete. And then the team members who will actually be looking at those are two, Mariano and Mike. The second one, the next three are new for this year that are unique to this year. And you all are familiar. We kind of went through a process of developing these. That process included first going to staff to see what kind of issues or topics that they thought needed to be looked at this year. Management had an opportunity, and then management actually, I believe Pete presented to a statewide leadership group. So we kind of had a wide range of input that we got for these. So the next three are interchange policy, and Victor is the lead reviewer for that one. The members are Roy, Heidi, and Lindsay. The third one is public involvement plan. Katasha Cornwell is the reviewer of that one. The lead for that one. And the review team members include Matt, Michael, and Katie. And then the last one is socio-cultural evaluation. And the lead for that is Margie Kirby. And the reviewers are Ruth and Brittany. So we want to quickly talk about the self-assessment outcomes. Okay, we want to quickly talk about the self-assessment outcomes from 2018. The performance results were very encouraging. In fact, we met or exceeded all of our targets where there were qualifying projects, and that was for 9 actual measures that we looked at. We found 2 successful practices on rechecking contamination data, quality, and providing detailed narratives for effective determination of protected species and habitat, and how effective determinations are reached for Type 1 CEs. We found 8 opportunities for improvement, and just real quickly, and that was for documentation quality, clear and appropriate explanations and statements for species and habitat determinations, processing emergency projects, and there were quite a few with the hurricanes that we've had over the last so many years, and whether relocation is anticipated. And then we found 4 non-compliance observations, and those centered around noise, MOU standard statements, and relocation. And so you can see, again, why we're looking back at these projects for the 2019 self-assessment. So the self-assessment scope basically is the review period, and we're looking at May 1st, 2018 through April 30th, 2019. So in just a couple of days or a day, I'll be able to run a project approvals report for that review period, but I can't do that until May 1st. We also for the scope, all NEPA performance measures, and we look at that every year, and a sample of project approvals. What we've kind of decided, and we've done this in years past, since we don't have that many of them, we're looking at all environmental assessments and all Type 2s, and we're looking at a sample of Type 1s because literally that's where the majority of COAs are, and we're looking at a sample of reevaluation. So a little bit about the self-assessment process to kind of touch on that for you all. As we've mentioned, we identified the NEPA target topics. The OEM team will then conduct a desk review, which starts on May 1st with my selecting the projects and assigning 2 individual team members. Now, during that process, and the period starts May 1st, and it runs until June, and we'll actually have that calendar for you in a couple of minutes. There could be contacts to districts, so just be aware as our team reviewers look at their projects, if they have questions, they can't find information, and they need clarification, that's when they outreach to you all and get that information for that. Then OEM will prepare a report of successful practices, opportunities for improvement, and any non-compliance observation, which is a pretty standard report that we've done in the previous years. There will be a 2-week review period. We will send a draft report to the districts, and we'll give you all a couple of weeks to look at that. And again, when we get to our calendar, you'll kind of have an idea of when you can expect to get that. And then at the end of it, OEM will provide a final report to districts, and we're required by the MOU to provide a summary report of the final report to Federal Highway Administration. So a little bit about the 2018 Federal Highway Audit. The main thing is that the audit is still in process, and it actually has not gone to public comment period yet. So these are draft and preliminary findings, but we have been working back and forth, we meaning OEM management, and we've been working back and forth with Federal Highway, the audit team. On the audit, they've had questions, and we've been providing clarification. So they have two non-compliance findings at the moment. FDOT's definition of commitment, which they're saying excludes necessary mitigation as required by federal regulation. We disagree with that, with their conclusion, and we're actively working with Federal Highway to resolve that. Our PD&E manual actually does include information about commitments and provides guidance and does cover what they say is not indicated. The second one is FDOT project files contain insufficient documentation to support the environmental analysis for decision. And you'll be hearing from us in this presentation, and you've heard in the past, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And this is the point where documentation is very key, and we are going to ask you have like a window to just double check to make sure that your files are adequately documented. And we're going to talk a little bit about what typical documentation in a file would look like. They have one observation, and that's the Endangered Species Act assessment was unsupported on certain projects. FDOT has worked with the U.S. FWS and received approval to use their species keys and make no effect determinations as the lead federal agency. So, you know, we have the go-ahead from them, so we're in the process of working that through now. Continuing with the 2018 Federal Highway Audit, they found a number of successful practices, and again, a thank you goes out to all districts because essentially, you know, this is what the successful practices, you all are where the successful practices are coming from. So you can kind of see, I'll quickly go through these, good district communications, great working relationship with our agencies, the swift enhancements that we've been making and that we've made over the last several years and that we continue to make, tracking system for federal guidance. Federal Highway, usually Joe Sullivan sends us the guidance and they're required by the MOU. And we actually have a process on this end for capturing each notice that we get, documenting that and following up on what they send us. So that's one of the things they cited as successful practice. District review of NEPA documents, some additional reviews by individuals beyond what is required on existing processes. So again, we thank you for that. Strides in addressing planning consistency, QA/QC process new tools, the various QC templates, multi-layer reviews, the trainings that we do, the webinars that we hold, the fact that we do post them on our website so that you can always go back and refresh as needed. Enhanced PD&E manual update process. The fact is that we do an annual updating of the manual, and so that was cited as the best practice. Dedicated resources in that regard to manage the manual chapters, multi-layers of review and OEM, district and department. So we kind of make sure that who needs to look at that and gets the review as part of that actually gets a chance to do it. Performance measure, actively monitoring the process. As I mentioned earlier, we do have performance measures in play that are constantly updating and data that we can run in that regard. The training program constantly improving with over 2,000 trained last fiscal year, and then the mentoring new staff, which is evident in the staff understanding of our processes. So in terms of readiness for the 2019 Federal Highway Audit, for the the Federal Highway Audit, we do like to put this in because these things are kind of working in tandem. They're kind of parallel processes, and you all need to be aware. We don't really have a separate statewide meeting for the audit end of it, but we do have contacts, and we keep them updated on everything that happens with the audit, and those contacts are from every district. So for the readiness, Federal Highway auditors will draw an audit sample of projects from all districts. The audit visit is scheduled for September 23rd and 24th, which that's been sent to you all already. And Federal Highway has identified the following districts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to be interviewed. The auditors will begin reviewing FDOT NEPA project files on May 1st. So today is April 29th, and again, that's somewhat of a window, but just to know that they actually start looking at your project files in just a couple of days. So again, it's just really important to take the time and just make sure that documentation is in the file, because that is what they will be looking for. Last year, Federal Highway expressed concern about tracking and accounting for commitments and missing or incomplete project documentation, which when I provided you the 2018 Federal Highway audit information, that was part of it. So, you know, again, now is the time for the districts to double check their documentation. Before September 23rd visit, districts should make sure all new management, staff, and consultants have completed the NEPA assignment training. We do have that available in Learning Curve. We also have that available at the OEM website. And for those who need refreshers, please go ahead and start taking those courses now, and definitely before they come on September 23rd. Even though they start reviewing our project files on May 1st, I did want to clarify, they don't start contacting you all directly until they're on site. So there are some months between now and then. That's what the September 23rd visit is. But we wanted to make you aware that they start looking at project files now, because when they do interview you, they're going to be asking about project files. So to kind of avoid them asking about documentation that's not there, it's good to be aware that they start doing that May 1st. And OEM will be reaching out to districts and communicating important details relating to the Federal Highway Audit as September approaches. So we have developed a really good rapport with our district contacts. You all have all designated just about who those people are for this year, and we're going to start meeting with them on a regular basis in the coming weeks. So here is the 2019 Audit Team from Federal Highway Administration. You can kind of see it up on and that includes Karen Brunel. The division people are going to still be there, and a handful of people from around the country and some from Washington. Well, the list includes Karen Brunel, Joseph Sullivan, Jorge Rivera, Luis Lopez, Maricel Lopez Cruz, Owen Landauer, Kathy Kendall, Mark Kloskens, Gloria Hardeman Tobin, Tom Bruchert, and Michelle Politka. So sorry about if I mispronounced anybody's names. I do apologize, but that's the list, and they're going to actually start the process starting on May 1st. We're also going to train them May 1st and then provide them access to the project files. So it's really important to learn or refresh, and I've kind of already touched on that. And when you go to our website or you go to Learning Curve, you'll see all those courses there provided for that purpose. So what's included in the project file? Fortunately, we've developed a PD&E chapter that addresses this issue. It's PD&E Manual Part 1, Chapter 15. So please feel free to get details. It's not a very long chapter, but it gives you the details that you're going to need to have as you kind of ponder and think about what should be in the project file. So a project file refers to the files maintained by the project team to support development of the PD&E study and resulting NEPA decision or approval. Here are some things that would normally be included. Your environmental document, technical reports and studies that support that document, letters, correspondence, and emails, comments, responses, and meeting minutes, documentation of contrary opinions or conflicting data, and resolution of issues or concerns raised and any resolution made in response. We do have training on the project file, NEPA project files that you can, in addition to the policy that you can take. Real important thing I want to point out is when you go to SWEP and you go into specific project, you see those different folders and it's divided out in a way that you know where to specifically place certain documents. For example, if the technical report is a biological report, there's a place within the NEPA project file where you would place that. If it's dealing with Section 106, cultural and archaeological resources, there's a place within the project file where you would place that, and then the main environmental document goes up front. So it's kind of, you all are very familiar with it. You've been using these project files for a couple of years. Just wanted to point it out, though, that the documents, that's where they go, and there are specific places within the project file where you would actually upload them. So here are some important dates to remember. Of course, today, and this is our official kickoff for the self-assessment, starting May 1st, there are two things that are going to be happening, kind of just to remind you. One is Federal Highway starts reviewing the project for the 2019 Federal Highway Audit, and the OEM review team starts with the self-assessment desk review. On June 26th, OEM review team completes the desk review, including any contacts that they've had to make with districts regarding the project files. Then I have to actually draft the report. Pete and I work on that report, and then we get that ready to send the draft report to the districts for review. So that would be July 19th. And you have a couple of weeks to review it and send any feedback to us. So we're kind of looking at a deadline to get any feedback from you on the draft self-assessment report, August 2nd. Then on August 16th, between August 2nd and August 16th, it goes through a process internally where our administrators look at the report, who are the same as the review team leads, and our director looks at and finalizes the report. And then August 19th is when we send the final report to the district and to our FDOT leadership. And then by the 21st, by the MOU, we are required to send 30 days in advance of the Federal Highway on-site visit. We are required to send a summary to them. So that'll be August 21st. Next steps, what happens after the meeting today, of course, is the desk review, is the draft report, your opportunity to review and provide any comments to us about the draft report. This go-to meeting will be posted on the FDOT website, and training is available, again, at the OEM FDOT website. I mentioned about the draft report going to you all July 19th, and you all having 2 weeks, and that concludes on August 2nd. And then I mentioned to you all the final report going back to you all August 19th. So if you all have any questions and answers at this time, we'll open it up, and Pete and I will answer those.
Let me look at the chat box.
Yeah, we'll see if anything's on the chat.
So one of the things that did become known for us, as you guys saw a few minutes in, we recognized that initially we were not sharing the screen, so you heard all the great audio, but you were still looking at the main screen. We did fix it. We are going to provide copies of the recording we are going to provide copies of the PowerPoint presentation, so you'll have that as well. We'll put them all up on the our internet site and then send out those links. I'm not seeing any questions at this particular point. If you've got anything, go ahead and ask away. And if we don't see anything in a couple minutes, we're just going to close it, and we'll make sure that we provide you guys the materials. Okay. We thank you all. If you got any questions, always reach out to myself, Eric, Jason, everybody. One of the things that maybe didn't come across as well as it should is we are one DOT. We expect to be as successful as possible and put our best foot forward always. So if you got any comments or questions, please give any one of us a call and see if we can't talk through anything that might be coming up. Anyways, thanks. And everybody have a good day. Look for a follow-up email with the links. Forward that to anybody who you think should have the information. Have a great day.